Hello, and welcome to the Threes of the Tarot. Today we'll hit the highlights of the threes of the minor arcana to help you with your own readings, or if you happen to read for others. Tarot can be used to gain insight and understanding into a variety of areas, including relationships, career, and personal growth. The cards can also provide guidance and direction on specific questions or issues. Before we begin, I just want to say that the meanings I present today are the ones that I found to be most often the truth in my experience and practice. But your experience and practice might be different. That's totally fine. Neither of us are wrong. All I hope in any case is that there's something in here that you can use or find helpful in some way. So, with that, let's dig in. The threes of the minor arcana of the tarot typically represent creation. The threes in general represent outcomes, energy, results, creative power, and fulfillment. In a reading, the threes are showing an outcome with a tangible result coming out of the union of the twos. Something real is happening now, and the person is actively doing or experiencing something that came about after they made a choice. The Kabbalah Tree of Life is a diagram used in the Kabbalah, a form of Jewish mysticism. The Sephirot represent the different aspects of the energy called God by some, and the paths represent the different ways in which the divine intelligence interacts with the world. The Tree of Life is made up of 10 spheres, or Sephirot, which are connected by 22 paths. Each Sephira represents a different aspect of the divine, and the paths represent the connections between them. The ultimate goal is to understand and connect with the Sephira in order to achieve enlightenment and union with the divine, however you perceive it. The Smith Rider-Waite deck was created by members of the Golden Dawn, and while we aren't going into the history of that today, what we can see clearly is that the deck makes many references and connections to Kabbalah. For instance, each path on the Tree of Life corresponds to a Hebrew letter, and each major arcana card corresponds to a Hebrew letter. Tarot as we know it today was not designed to mirror Kabbalah. The deck most of us start with is more like if you threw the mystic wisdom of several ancient cultures plus astrology in a bowl and then shook it up, all the pieces that seemed to fit together. And that's kind of what a classic deck captures. When we use the deck and peel back each layer of each card, all of that wisdom and understanding kind of harmonizes into a meaning or insight we can use. In my practice, I use the Tree of Life to help find the roots of issues that I consult with tarot on. So that's why each of these videos will touch on this topic as it relates to tarot. The third Sephira of the Tree of Life in Kabbalah is called Bina, which means understanding or reasoning in Hebrew. It represents the uppermost level of discernment and insight. In Kabbalistic thought, Bina is the quantum foam or primordial fabric from which materiality comes into and out of existence. It is associated with the left side of the Tree of Life, which is also associated with the left brain and the left side of the body. It is said that Bina is the place from which all else is born, giving it what it is also known as being the divine womb. We begin with the Three of Wands, called in the Golden Dawn tradition the Lord of Established Strength. This card appears a bit similar to the Two of Wands that came before it, and where that showed us a figure preparing for a battle to come, this figure is the evolved version. This card is ruled by the sun, and Aries feeds on that solar power to justify their place as the leader. This figure is confident, courageous, and noble enough to win and hold control over their world. Even though we have that potential ego issue with Aries being highlighted and supported by the powerful, affirming, life-sustaining sun, this is more the story of the leader learning their place in the world. This card will most often come up for people who have a creative drive to build businesses or some other undertaking that needs not only their vision, but the ability to keep the process moving. It's also worth noting that while we have outward facing, future thinking happening, this card is also just as much about the past. What did it take to get here? What did we have to do? And what have our experiences gifted us or challenged us with as it relates to where we're going next? In its reversal, we are faced with a variety of options. Reversals are fantastic because they give us a diagnosis or a view of the problem to be solved. They take some investigation, though. See what surrounds them, as the reversal might be asking us to combine the card with another card nearby to give us more information. If this card is alone, ask some questions to see what the specific problem is and how the card might suggest a fix. A reversal like this one can also show us something that's holding us back, especially a past experience that's flavoring how we deal with what's happening in the present. The way to move through this card is to find out what else we could try to get past. Whatever it is that's keeping us stuck. Did we try everything? Are we vulnerable? Are we the ones who are really in the way? This is one of only a few cards that anyone can recognize for what it is, even never having touched a tarot deck. It will not likely come up to describe something good. I'm sorry, when you're reading for someone and it comes out, it's kind of like, here we go. Challenging messages are not easy to deliver. This is one that will, most of the time, mean what it looks like. It looks like pain, suffering, sadness. And you know what? The good part is that this won't be a surprise. The client will know. When you start describing this card, they know exactly where you're headed. They made an emotional investment in something and it's gone bad. When you're reading this card, be sensitive and let the client express what's clearly hurting them. If this card is in an outcome position, reiterate that it is a potential outcome, but they're being showed all of this for a reason. Tarot gives us what we need, especially when it is just a dumpster fire. Your client gets this card because they need to see it here and now. Your role as the reader is to help them find the realization that's coming through. If this card comes up, you might be working with someone who has not only experienced pain in their lives, but they're holding on to it. If the pain is physical in nature, it's a chronic issue that they may be managing as best they can, but it's still there. If the pain is emotional, it may be that they're crushing it down and not working on releasing it. See if any other cards are telling you about unhealthy coping habits that they should be made aware of. This card is like the time heals all wounds card. It's all about the past. Because we feel all kinds of pain, this card does come up related to the physical health of a client or someone in their world. As with all health matters, be careful. It's easy to scare people when it comes to health, so be extra careful how you interpret this card for a client. It could easily be something super minor, so make sure to ask as many questions as you can before making a confirmation. The Three of Cups it looks like a good time, and indeed it is showing us a positive group interaction. Some cards are pretty easy to work with, and this is one of them because you'll just get it. Mercury isn't just about communication. It's also about trade and material exchanges. Cancer's ruling planet is the moon, so we see that lunar influence clearly here. The Maiden Mother Crone triad, the concept of life seasons, the reasons we find to celebrate movements through the phases of our lives, just as the moon and nature go through their phases. This card is also called the Lord of Abundance, so you can be assured that most of the time it's coming up to describe the belonging one can feel in a supportive environment, just as well as the joy and security when you know all the hard work has paid off. There is so much going on with this card in the reversal, and I really had to cram as much as I could into that one page just to scrape the surface. But I'll describe some of the feelings and circumstances that came from this card, and you'll notice a trend. So we have a combination of past and present. Something is triggering past memories. It delves into the subconscious. So ask your person what is being felt by them in the moment. They might not be getting the feedback they were hoping to get. Does the person truly understand what kind of support they do need? When you don't join in with a group and become a semi or full outcast, or when a child doesn't get the right kind of support, they can learn to misinterpret social cues that will make it feel like they're being victimized by others when that's actually not the case. It's rare to have people genuinely be happy for you. It can be difficult for a person to be happy for others when they might feel like they don't have that same access. It feels like envy and pain, and they look at themselves when someone else shines. Having a personal experience within a group, a person that tries to cut you down, spiritual theft, taking something that couldn't be given back, the person feels robbed of an experience that should have been positive. It could be a sense of betrayal or a distrust in the universe's ability to bring you into healthy relationships. Back to childhood possibilities. When a child's made to take responsibilities on too early, they're being robbed of that chance to learn about healthy relationships. It's that culmination of past experiences, creating the present situation. They may be in need of social interaction or healthier social interaction. And they might not be able to understand or feel happiness or connection, not be able to experience joy. You could ask them, what does it mean to be happy? What brings you joy? The advice in general is let that person go through what they need to go through. Finally, another common meaning could be a lack of support or an imagined lack of support. So there might be some lingering trauma around missing or neglected support that's coloring the present. Again, this is a card that has pretty straightforward and universal meaning. Most people look at this and the keyword of teamwork comes to mind. That's definitely not incorrect. One of my favorite variations of this card has bumblebees on it, and I love that. It just makes sense. We all know what the end goal is, and we're all making a cooperative effort to achieve it together. So Mars is taking over as a sub-ruler of Capricorn for this card. So for anyone who thinks from the position of the planets, just imagine how Mars would get down to business. Mars would have a vision, be gathering the resources and investors they need to make a project work. In its reversal, this card is reflecting less than ideal working conditions. Instead of meaningful contributions from all involved that flow up to the greater goal, we have people who undermine and suffocate contributions made by others. Too many people nitpicking pointless details. Micromanagers, forgotten obligations, all the ingredients are here for a dysfunctional work environment. Further, if this describes how your client is feeling or thinking, it may be that they are caring way too much what others think, and it's having a negative impact on their ability to create. I've also seen it stand for negative reviews or a sales pitch that doesn't land. Thank you so much for watching. There is no way I covered off all the many meanings the cards have. I just tried to hit the highlights. If you have a few books from the sort of core writers and established teachers of the last 100 years, you already have plenty of guidance to work with you as you develop your psychic skills. I just hope there's a little in here that you might find useful or something that helps a card open up for you as you develop and practice and grow. If you pause the video in different spots, you'll be able to read them as you need them. But if you want to have a printable copy of all the cards we've done so far, those are available to patrons on the Lost and Found Patreon if you are by any chance interested in supporting it. Hopefully you'll hop over to the next video in the series where we go over the fours of the minor arcana. Take care, and remember, practice makes predictive.